Back in the 80s, Rambo was the shit, but the NES game was just plain shit. The game begins, you're just walking around a hangar talking to people. Rambo looks like some shirtless guy wearing red gym tights. Just walking around, talk to this person, talk to that person. Colonel says you to fuck off, then the plane drops you off, and the action finally begins. Well, kinda. You spend most of your time just killing snakes, bugs, and other small animals with a knife. It's actually a complete clone of Zelda 2. Link's flying sword is now Rambo's flying knife, the numbers that appear when you kill the enemies, the way you talk to people, dark caves which require a lantern to light the way, and overall the layout is very similar. Speaking of the knife, that's one of the most disappointing aspects about this caboose of a game. Why am I not using a machine gun? Why am I just fighting snakes and bugs? Doesn't this remind you of the movie? Eventually, you start to fight appropriate enemies, and you do gain an inventory of weapons such as flying daggers, arrows, and grenades. You also get a machine gun, but that doesn't appear until much later in the game. The biggest problem with this game is knowing where the hell you're supposed to go. Stand on these little boxes that say N for North and S for South. You push up, then you go to the next screen. And it's just like Friday the 13th where you could change paths, but it's confusing to navigate because everything looks the same. If you keep walking in the same direction, the stage just repeats over and over. Sometimes you think you're making progress, but then you realize that you're doing laps over the same stretch of land. To make it even more confusing, there's a time where in order to advance to the next section of the game, you have to walk in one direction and then you go back to the same way you came. So it's like if you walk to the right, you could just walk right forever. It's an endless cycle. But when you walk to the left, that's when it takes you to somewhere different. What a shitload of fucking bullshit. Another thing that blazes my balls is that when you're low on energy, the screen flashes. I guess it's nice to be alert that you're dying, but it doesn't have to be so fucking annoying. Maybe you say it's nitpicking, but I say it's shitpicking. The controls are mind-blowingly awful. It doesn't look bad, but believe me, it's bad. You can move around and jump around just fine, but when it comes to using your weapons, it feels stiff. When you try attacking something, it's almost impossible without getting hit. How they fuck up Rambo so bad? It's just a guy in a bandana going around shooting people. Kinda like Contra. Yeah, that worked. Side-scrolling, overhead, or even a semi-3D perspective. It all worked. As long as the controls are fluent, the action is good, and overall the gameplay is simulating. That's all it needs. But instead, we get a confusing, incoherent mess that doesn't even really know what it's trying to be. Confusing navigation, frustrating controls, and a straight up copy of Zelda 2. 4 out of 10.